Okay. We have dates. You know what? At this point, we have a gentleman waiting outside.
Yeah.
I think we'll probably go to the next part of our meeting. Sorry? I think we have to. Yeah. Please. For the past 3 or 4 weeks, this board has been heavily involved in conversations and meetings concerning the progress of the lobby project. For those of you that don't have a history, we signed the contract. We verbally approved the contract for the lobby project back in the latter part of April or May of 2006. The contract.
He's coming around the back.
Well, he can sit right here.
Right up here so we can be on camera.
Anthony,
come
Tony,
around,
come up here.
Come around this way. You're going to sit over here with me.
The lobby contract, if I recall, was signed in early June.
June, I believe it was June.
Right. The lobby contract was started in early June. The lobby contract was signed in early June with the intention of starting the project pretty soon thereafter. We did have to wait for some electrical plans to be finalized before we could submit an application for permit to the town. The application was submitted once all the plans were finalized on the 2nd of August. The intent was to start the project by the latter part of August and be pretty much through with it sometime in the latter part of December or January. But for those of you who aren't aware, the town kept on delaying the approval of the permits. And from the best we could tell, to some extent, they just kept on misplacing the paperwork. Susan, Matt, and Anthony Delano. By the way, this is Anthony Delano. He is our general contractor for the lobby project. Spent an enormous amount of time chasing down the paperwork to get our permits, our lobby permits approved.
There were also wholesale resignations.
The delay was over 3 months.
Yeah, the delay was over 3 months, right. I was about to say, we did get our permits in November, which amounted to a 3-month or 90-day delay. As soon as our permits came through, step 1 was to deal with the concrete pads. So Mr. Delano's crews removed the glass enclosure, and a demolition crew came in and demolished the 3 existing concrete pads with the intention of framing out and pouring new concrete pads. We had to, before we pour the concrete, we needed to make sure that all of our waterproofing was intact. This was the final leg of the stool, if I said that correctly, to eliminate all the remaining leaks in the galaxy. The information that we had, and Matt worked very hard on it, was that we had some expansion joints that were defective, that needed to be dealt with. And consequently, we had to deal with that issue. And we had to figure a way of re-waterproofing and tying the waterproofing into the driveway, which then in turn tied into the berm. So we had a seamless waterproofing system on the entire roof or driveway.
Well, first we did the water test to make sure.
Right, I'm getting there. Okay. Matt and the professionals, with Tony Delano's help, devised a system to test the waterproofing and came up with an engineered manner in which to eliminate any kind of pooling of water under the concrete pad. By the time all that was done, and by the way, the weather was warm, so we caught a break during that period of time, we were well into December. Now we're a 4-month delay. Actually, it's a greater delay because this project should have started in July. Our electrical plans had to be finalized. In any case, the work could not begin, the waterproofing could not begin until sometime around the middle of January, which, as our homeowners see, actually has begun. And all 3 towers have started to get the waterproofing done underneath where the concrete pads would be poured. As luck would have it, the weather turned cold. So the waterproofing has now kind of stopped temporarily because it's too cold to
Well, they were
For the
working
water.
today at Tower One, they're putting.
It depends on the
It depends on what
temperature,
we're doing.
depends on the precipitation, so on and so forth. However, we have now experienced some very serious delays. Unfortunately, time is money. And Mr. Delano had advised us quite a few months ago that if this job could not be started prior to year end, there would be increased costs to the association. Mr. Delano came to this board, I guess it was the end of December, early January, and started discussing what these increases were, tried to quantify them, and there was a combination of labor increases, subcontractor material increases, I'm sorry, it was labor increases, material increases, and insurance increases for the past 4 of our abilities. We had a working session with Mr. Delano last Wednesday night to kind of bring this whole thing to a conclusion, because at this moment, no work is being done in the lobbies, and we need to get started. Mr. Delano, after lots of negotiation and work, has presented us with a change order. Susan, if you could just run down the amount of the change order in 3 different buckets, if you could: labor, insurance, and materials.
Let's see if I have my 3.
About this?
No, I have it right here on the top, I have my notes. Thank you, though. The total sum of this proposed change order is $288,000 even. Tony even graciously took out the last 500 and change. There are really
components.
3 reasons for this
3
change order.
components.
There are 3 components to the change order. The first component is actual increases by Tony's subs once we cross the January date line. They have incurred their own labor charges, many of them have negotiated their own union contracts, and they've seen wage increases. And we have in subcontractor changes alone, 45,000, and I'm rounding numbers a little bit, but approximately $45,655 in subcontractor changes because of the delays. The second component is an insurance increase. Because of these delays, Tony has been forced to maintain insurance for a longer period of time. And that amount of money is $33,000 approximately.
Insurance in the amounts that we demand at the Galaxy,
That's correct.
which is much more than what he carries every day,
That's correct.
or what most people carry every day.
We ask for much
10
more in
million.
insurance, absolutely. And the third component of the change order is $205,000 for additional time spent at the Galaxy working on things through these delays.
Okay. So what I'd like to do, I think what we need to do is have a motion and then have discussion.
Correct.
Okay, so what we need is a motion to approve the change order of $288,000. A second if we can get one, and then what we'll do is we'll have a discussion. Okay? So, what I need is a motion. Martha?
I'll move that we approve the change order in the total amount, with those 3 elements, total amount of $288,000.
Anybody second?
I'll second.
Lisa, thank you. Susan, you got that?
I did.
Okay, now let's have a discussion, because I'm sure we need to have a discussion on this. First of all, I think what we need to do probably is explain in a little more detail as to what this money represents. And by way of analysis, I'll do the best I can to explain it, and then if anybody wants to chime in, please do. When we contracted for this job, the contract, which Mr. Delano's obligated to perform to, calls for the lobby work to have started sometime last summer, and we were given a roll forward of something like 6 or 7 months to complete the project. Mr. Delano and his supervisors would have been out of here sometime, as I said earlier, latter part of December or January. The lobbies haven't even started yet. During that period of time, Mr. Delano has been here, and because of the delays, none of which were of Mr. Delano's doing, he has been, dealing with the town and trying to get our permits approved,